Look, I am from Canada. My first word might as well have been sorry. Setting boundaries for myself and prioritizing my happiness over the happiness of everybody else is always going to be a work in progress for me. But learning that not everyone needs to like me has been liberating. I mean, look, it's extremely painful. Everybody should like me. I'm very good, but if a few don't, then I guess I am okay with that. If you are someone who prioritizes other people, like if you need permission to choose yourself, let me be here to grant you that. Do what makes you feel happy or feel fulfilled minimally. Could we just stop doing things that routinely make us sad? I, for one, feel sad every time I find myself sorting 100 socks in a dimly lit laundry room. And I often find myself there pairing other people's socks with grim determination, knowing that if I just left the socks there, it would probably take a week before anybody noticed. I mean, how long would I have to lie down on that sock mountain in stillness before anyone came to find me? I don't even want to think about the implications. I know none of this is novel advice, but I think for a lot of women, it is novel to actually take the advice to prioritize yourself. So, baby steps, okay? Say no to just one thing that you really don't want to do today. It's not always possible. It's not always practical. And I do not deny that this is a process. This is a practice. It is hard to learn how to say no. If you're used to saying yes, often at your own expense, one does not spend a huge swath of their life as a people pleaser and wake up one day thinking, from now on, I am totally fine with everyone thinking that I'm just like a bitch. I mean, look, perimenopause really will accelerate that transition. But still, we go through so much of life trying to make other people's lives easier, happier. Sometimes our own joy can get lost in the process. And God, we should be done with that. We might not ever get equal pay, but I do think that we deserve equal joy. This is Choice Words. I'm Samantha Bee. Sometimes I get to talk to somebody who so embodies joy for me that I feel hit over the head with happiness. Like my guest today, actress Ellie Kemper. We talked about how we hate letting people down and how sometimes that comes at a personal cost. She is glorious. I love talking to her, and I hope you get as much as I did out of our conversation. So take a listen and make good choices. It's very nice to see your face. The last time we spoke, you tolerated me on your podcast talking about how much I love cats for 1 hour, but I could have talked for 6.
We were over the moon happy that you could be on our podcast. And so your love of cats actually, well, it didn't, I can't lie. It has not yet
It has not moved
inspired
you.
me to get a cat. It has not moved me to purchase or rescue a cat yet.
Okay, so I shouldn't send you, at the conclusion of this podcast, I shouldn't just send you a box of kittens. A bundle.
No kitten bundle just yet. Although now maybe I sound like a monster because maybe I should accept a kitten bundle. I don't know.
No, you do not. You know what? Not accepting a bouquet of kittens does not make you a monster. It doesn't.
Thank you.
It's very reasonable. It's very, very reasonable.
I know my limits.
You too. I feel like I've just watched everything you've done. I've gobbled everything you've done. So I feel like I know you. And isn't that so funny when you think and you're like, hey, how are you? And you're like, wait, hang on.
Never met the person. And then but it's that thing of, it can go two ways. One, it's like, I thought I knew Jerry Seinfeld growing up because I watched Seinfeld, right? So that's a different thing. But this thing where someone comes into your living room every week and you think, oh, I know that person. Right. But this thing, I just felt like I should know you. You also have the likability where I think, oh yeah, of course, I've known her for all my life.
Okay, so before I ask you all about I like to start this podcast, like the runway into the podcast is asking people about the choices that they've made in their life and like what kind
Mhm.
of are you a good decision? How are you? I picture you being very decisive decision maker. Is
Oh,
this accurate?
please. I wish you would keep I'm so
Oh,
sad to have to
oh
debunk that myth
no.
because I aspire to be that person who makes a crisp decision and
Crisp.
maybe I don't want to say doesn't look back,
Mhm.
but is so sure of herself. And I'm not that person
You know
at
what?
all.
There's no moral virtue in being a
Yeah, right.
decisive decision. You don't have to.
That yeah,
Don't judge yourself. It's
it's
just
too much
different.
on.
It's just different. It's too much.
It's different. While I don't enjoy the process of decision making, I
Mhm.
do belabor it and weigh
Okay.
the pros and cons very heavily and unfortunately do the thing of, oh, but should I,
Mhm.
not coulda, shoulda, woulda, but would that have been a better, and if that had happened, then this wouldn't be happening now. I'm getting better at that. It's not regret, but it's more like questioning your decisions.
Right. Like the path not taken. Like, would these things
Exactly.
have connected better if I had just gone with my gut?
Yeah.
I do feel like lately I'm kind of regretting not going with my gut on certain things.
Right.
Do you get into that place sometimes?
Yes, absolutely. And especially, although, although having said that, then I think, oh, you know what? I think my gut was wrong about
Oh,
that. Yeah, I do have again, it's a journey. I'm trying to get better at being, this will sound maybe a little cheesy, but knowing myself
mhm.
well enough to have confidence in the decision that I'm making and not being so I guess timid about the whole thing. Which sounds I'm 43 years old. It's like, "Oh, you're just realizing that now, Ellie?" But yeah, I am.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. Like,
Yeah.
do you write lists? Are you a list maker? Do you
Total list maker.
total list maker?
Yeah.
Personal list, like
Do you mean list?
like a
Yeah.
written down list, like a piece of
Written down.
paper or on your
Oh
phone?
yeah, not on a computer, not on a phone, on a piece of paper, like pros and cons,
Yep.
and then ultimately, like, well, how much weight does each item have? I don't know, and so then
Right.
you just have at a certain point, you just have to make a decision. I'll say this, and I might be getting ahead of myself, but I do think also in our industry,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things where you might feel I think you have gone down a different path than I have because you're the boss of your show and you're in charge of your show and you run your show. But a lot of the times, especially with acting, you're like waiting for someone to tell you something, and
Right.
that sort of brings out the childish behavior, I guess, in me, where I'm thinking, oh, I don't have the capability of doing this,
That's
or whatever it is.
that is
Yeah.
so interesting. It is like when you're an actor on someone else's thing, you have your own choices, but you have to make a lot of decisions about yourself,
Yes.
or you won't be
Right.
effective. So you
Right.
are very empowered, but in the end, they'll still edit you the way that they want to.
Totally, totally. And there's two things. I think, okay, well, you can be at peace with, well, at a certain point you have to be at peace with that
Mhm.
because if that's the job, that's the job. But it is very strange, isn't it? Because you think,
Yes.
oh, the ultimate product doesn't rest in my hands. I'm
Right.
giving.
Yes, yes.
So it's a weird, I mean, I guess in anything that's filmed, that's gonna be the outcome. The only maybe I should just do plays from now on. That I should just because they can't edit that.
They can't edit that, but they definitely will give you notes afterward and be like,
Yeah.
"You didn't do the thing that you were doing, the thing that you did 27 times in a row. You didn't do it last night. Do it again. Do it.
Yeah.
Go back to it." Like,
Or you're out.
yeah, I was just
Yeah.
trying some fun stuff. They're like, "Well, don't. Well, quit it."
I was just doing a fun run.
Yeah,
A little fun run
that
on.
one was just for me. That one was
Yeah,
just for
yeah.
me. Do you like,
No.
okay, so is there a choice in your life that you can think of that you feel changed everything? It doesn't have to be like a big one, but is there one thing you can really point to?
Well, I can, and this
Oh,
and this will and it did change everything
mhm,
because I don't know what would have happened, and it will sound minor,
mm-mm,
maybe, but I'm really building up the suspense. After college, I thought, should I move to Chicago? Oh, I should preface this. I loved improv. I was in the improv group in college. I loved it. I didn't really know what I wanted to do for a career, but I knew that I liked improv and that some people made a living from doing comedy,
Right.
but most likely people kept doing improv with a day job. And I wanted to try that. And I thought, should I go to Chicago, the
Yeah.
epicenter of
Epicenter of
improvisation?
comedy,
Comedy.
improvisation.
Yep. Or New York. And I decided to go to New York. And so you think, okay, well, yeah, everybody goes somewhere. Great decision. But in fact, I who knows what it would, maybe everything would have been
Right.
great in Chicago too. But I do think just that decision of where to live in your early 20s, yeah, that changed everything because it's like, where I work wise, it's where I started working and
Right.
getting jobs and honing my craft. of
Honing a
improv.
craft.
Honing the craft in New York City.
Trying to make money, trying to pay your rent. Which, like,
And ultimately, where I met my husband.
who has time to hone their craft in New York with how costly the rents are? I really, very,
What is happening?
I'm amazed that people can cobble together a life and a career and goals sometimes. I'm like, how does everyone do it? When I first moved to the city, I was like, I know I've kept meeting people, and I was like, I feel like I'm meeting a lot of 45-year-olds who sleep on bunk beds in a
Yes.
very communal space. And like, I'm from Canada, and that is everybody.
Yes.
I'm not saying that everybody's life in Canada is easy and breezy, but most people have laundry. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right.
mostly everyone's got a washing machine. And you get to New
What?
York and
That's
everyone's
it.
like, no, no, no. Here's what we do. We get 80 pounds of laundry and we walk like 10 or 12 blocks and
Yeah.
someone else does it. I'm like, what?
I know. And your kitchen's in your bedroom
Yes.
and it's like, why? I don't know what other cities are like because I haven't lived in other cities as a 20-year-old starting out, 20-something-year-old. It's why does the first question, how can everyone put up with
Right.
it? As we just established, rents are so high. And also, why does everyone put up with it? Because it's like, and then you walk down the street and you're like, well, this is filthy. I mean, there's rats everywhere. What is it? It's just like, for what?
I know. What are we doing? I mean, but it's
don't know.
glorious. Like, when it's glorious,
I
it's
know.
so glorious. And you're like, here
Right.
we are. And we're New Yorkers.
Yep.
And there's like you just feel amazing. And you're like,
I know.
look at us. We did it. And then you get off a plane from somewhere. You come across the bridge. You're like, there's Manhattan. And then you
I
turn
know.
on the radio and someone's like, here's what we're doing to combat the rats. We have a spike. We have a spike pole. And when they come out of their hidey hole, we spike them. It's very merciful. I'm like, what? What are we doing?
Wait, please tell me. Sorry, is that happening?
Yes, I literally heard that story on the radio this morning. They were talking about it. There was a woman on the
No.
Upper East Side talking about how they're doing. I don't know if this will end up in the podcast. It might. It should.
We'll hear it
You know what?
anyway.
It's
It should.
interesting. So they're like finding the rat dens at the base of trees, and they're like blasting it with some type of air. It's like not poison. It's not poison gas. It just is like something that alarms the rats, and they run out. And when they run out, they're stabbing them to death with a pole. I'm like, this is not
2000.
okay.
No, it's not. I mean, first of all, how effective is it? Because they're getting one rat at a time, whatever. But second, just the brutality.
Who's
I mean, that's
signing up for that?
I don't know. I thought, I didn't know if you were making a joke or
No.
not. And then I thought, do you know what? I think this is a real thing that's happening.
I couldn't make a joke that good. It's not even a joke. It's not a joke
It's
for the
not.
rats. It's
It's
incredibly
no joke
serious
for the rats.
This is.
I mean, I think this all the time. And I think, and speaking of choices and decision making, because obviously you've set up your life here and you have children who are applying to college. And my kids are younger. They're 7 and 4. And I am constantly and we may have talked about this before, where to raise them. I can't figure it out. You know?
Yes.
And the thing is, and yes, you put up with so much here. You put up with so much. And then when it's fantastic, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And then also, my husband asked me, he said, well, you're going to be, he meant there are going to be, you know, disadvantages to anywhere you live. But what he actually said was, you're going to be unhappy anywhere. So where would you be the happiest being unhappy? And I thought that's a better way to frame it. And it's here.
That's a great way to frame it, because there's going to be issues no matter where. There's just going to be a different big pile of issues.
Yep.
You know, you're going to be out in the suburbs somewhere and someone's going to be like, hey, we should ban those Judy Blume books. Man, these are not healthy. And you're going to be like, wait, no, I got to go back.
Exactly. It's the rat spearing.
Yep.
Or the, you know, Judy Blume. So you do have to, yeah, it's exactly right.
Weighing. You're always weighing.
You're always weighing. And the thing is, well, no, I don't know that I haven't read any books or have any insight to some like, you know, wisdom behind decision making, because I've mentioned this before. I do feel, and I want to hear when you were talking about your own gut, because I feel like my gut is like wrong half of the time.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I think it depends on the situation. I feel like it's, you know, your inner voice, if you can really tune into it, it's really hard to tune into it. Like, I think it is a perfect example of like, where should we settle? Like, where should we live? Which is an ongoing conversation. Now, even 20 years into our lives, our kids are like getting ready for college and we're still like, where should we put roots? I'm like, we're old. It's that conversation is over. We did it.
Yeah. Our roots are here. I'm so relieved to hear you say that you have that conversation, because I'm like, yeah, the roots,
they're here.
They're laid. Yeah.
Want to listen to the rest of this episode? Head over to your favorite podcast player to hear the entire show. I highly recommend it.